Hi friends, today's video is all about the poetry and its major form. Let's start the video now. But before that, this is my Instagram page. Please follow me on Instagram. Now we'll start with the video. Poetry and its major forms. The first, the epic, the mock epic, the sonnet, the ode, the elegy, the pastoral elegy, the ballad, the satire. Then free verse, haiku, lyric, and tanka. Epics and mock epics. An epic is a long work in poetry that tells the story of a hero and his struggles. There is usually a journey and great battles. It is usually written in dactylic hexameter, and very good examples are Divine Comedy, Ramayana, Paradise Lost, and Iliad and Odyssey. And on the other hand, mock epics are they have the feeling of an epic, but the content is not heroic. Mock epics are generally the satires. They poke fun at the weakness, silliness of their main characters. A very good example is the Rape of the Lock. In the Rape of the Lock, the people were pretending like they have done very great thing by having the lock of the woman, which is a very trivial and stupidity they have done. But they act like that in their opinion that playing cards and taking a lock of a woman hair is as serious as they have won the Trojan War. So it's like all trivial and stupidity actions which they have proceeded in the Rape of the Lock. Sonnets. Italian sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet, Spensierian sonnet, Miltonic sonnet, Terza Rima sonnet, and Curtal sonnet. Let us take a look at a few examples of sonnets in literature now. First, we have Italian or Petrarchan sonnet, and this was introduced by 14th century Italian poet Francesco Petrarch. And the rhyming scheme of Petrarchan sonnet is the first 8 lines called an octet, which rhymes as ABBA, ABBA, CDC, DCD, and the remaining 6 lines are called a sestet. Sestet, and might have a range of rhyme schemes. Now next we have William Shakespeare sonnets, and they have generally written in iambic pentameter, in which there are 8 syllables in each line, and the rhythm of the line is ABAB, CD, EF, GG, which is difficult to follow, and hence only Shakespeare is known to have done it. Next we have Edmund Spenser's Amoriti, and this is also known as Spenserian sonnet. Sir Edmund Spenser was the first poet who modified the Petrarch's form and introduced a new rhyme scheme, which is as in this sonnet. He has introduced a new rhyming scheme in this sonnet, like AB, BC, CD, EE, which is specific to Spenser, and such types of sonnets are called Spenserian sonnets. An ode is a form of lyric poetry expressing emotions, and it's usually addressed to someone or something, or it represents the poet's musings on that person or thing, as Keats ode tell us what he thought as he looked at the Grecian urn. Ode to the Grecian urn is a very good example of the ode, and the word ode comes from the Greek word for song, and like a song, an ode is made up of verses and can have a complex meter. It can be of 3 types: Pindaric ode, Horatian ode, and irregular ode. Pindaric ode. Pindaric ode was named after the master himself, and Pindaric odes were meant to be performed with dancers and the chorus, celebrating events like Olympics and so on. And this ode consists of 3 sections named strophe, antistrophe, and epode. The strophe and antistrophe have the same meter and length, while the epode has a different meter and length. A very good example is Ode on Intimations of Immorality from Recollection of Early Childhood by William Wordsworth, and it's a very good example of poem in Pindaric style. And now again we have Horatian Ode, and this ode was named after the Roman poet Horace, and these were usually more thoughtful than a Pindaric ode. And it's mainly meant for the personal enjoyment than a stage performance. And their subjects tend to be very simple, reflecting on nature, people, or mainly abstract concept. And this ode usually has a regular stanza pattern, usually 2 to 4 line length and rhyming scheme. And the very good example is Ode to the Confederate Dead by Alan Tate. It's a very good example of Horatian ode. Now next we have the irregular ode. Irregular ode has no set structure, but it will be very helpful to highlight the similarities and difference between the Pindaric and Horatian ode before enjoying a few more examples. And it's like author of an irregular ode will retain some of the elements of classic ode, like such as tone and subject, while enjoying the freedom to experiment with rhyming and structure. You can see a example of B.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. It's a very good example of irregular ode. Great elegies. But first of all, what is elegy? Elegy, there are some sad forms of poetry as well as happy ones, but one of these sad form is known as elegy. Elegies express a lament, often over the death of a loved one, and this makes elegies especially popular for funerals. Some elegies are written not only to be read out loud, but they can be put to music and sung. For example, In Memoriam, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson, and it is an elegy to a close friend named as Arthur Henry Hallam, and it was written over 20 years. So Alfred Lord Tennyson has written this In Memoriam for his friend Arthur Henry Hallam, and The Regiment of Princes has written by Occleve for Chaucer, and Lycidas has written by Milton for Edward King, and Elegies written in a country churchyard written by Thomas Gray for the mankind in general, and Astrophel has written by Spenser for Philip Sidney. Ballad is a short narrative poem which is written to be sung and has a simple but dramatic theme. Ballads can be of love, death, the supernatural, or even a combination of the three. Many ballads also contain a moral which is most oftenly expressed in the final stanza. And very good example is The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by S.T. Coleridge. Satire. Satire is a type of literature that seeks to point out human vice and foolishness by using humor. It takes a very serious issue and pokes fun at it or ridicules society. Satire relies on humor to bring about social change, and satire most often doesn't go over individual people. Instead, satire is directed at society as whole or types of people in society, the politician, the prideful, etc. And the wit and irony of the satire are exaggerated. It is in the exaggeration that people are made aware of their foolishness. And we have so many literary elements in the satire like humor, irony, inflation, parody, and so on. Very good examples are Geoffrey Chaucer's A Parliament of Fools, William Langland's Piers the Plowman, John Dryden's Macflacon, and very good example is George Orwell, The Animal Farm. Free verse. Free verse poems have no regular meter or rhythm. They do not follow a proper rhyme schemes. These poems do not have any set rules. And a very good example is The Garden by Ezra Pound. And free verse is commonly used in contemporary poetry. Some poets have taken this technique as a freedom from rhythm and rhyme because it changed people's mind whimsically. And the best thing about the free verse is that poet can imagine the form of any sound through innotations instead of meters. And free verse gives a greater freedom for choosing words and conveying their meaning to the audience. So this is all about free verse. Haiku. A haiku is traditionally a Japanese poem consisting of 3 short lines and do not have rhyme. And to write a haiku poem, write a poem that's 3 lines long and make sure each line has the right number of syllables. Give the first line 5 syllables, the second line 7 syllables, and the third line 5 syllables, like 5, 7, and 5.